Hey, welcome back to the Secret Underground Lair. So we have our first door sample that we've got for our little Juila Table rough cut off the bandsaw. And when I say rough cut, you can see that it's not perfectly smooth as it went through the bandsaw, and I'm okay with that. The bandsaw did exactly what it's supposed to do. So there's a bit of a ridge here, there's a bit of a ridge here, and so on. So I could probably use a sander and get an approximate curve, approximate smoothing, which would probably do okay. But I also want to be able to cut beads going down here in parallel. So this whole front of this will be beaded. Of course, the challenge is, well, how do you do that with a router and kind of line it up, especially on a curved surface? Well, I'm glad you asked. Here's the bits. I'm going to use my little trim router and create another, hey, guess what? A router sled. I have some 8mm rods that came out of an inkjet printer. Great source for parts, inkjet printers. This board here, this little cutoff of 1/4 inch MDF, is going to be used for, actually the router will sit on that. So I'll take a block of this material and put it here, another block of the material, put it over here. I'm going to drill holes in this, this piece here that will accommodate these linear bearings that will sit in there. These linear bearings, of course, will then let these rods slide back and forth. There'll be another set of blocks actually attached to these pieces through a slot that will let them slide up and down here to let me get variable height. I'm going to drill a hole down here so that the whole business can pivot back and forth on arms. And I'll be mounted onto base material made out of this material here. And oh, I'm getting way ahead of myself, aren't I? All right, I got a couple pieces cut and holes drilled. So you can see little pilot holes in each of these 4 pieces. So the concept being, hopefully it's a little clearer now, that the router will sit on this little sled. Linear bearings will be embedded into these 2 blocks. And then the whole business can slide back and forth there and back to here. Not a lot of travel, but just a little bit. These blocks here are going to be mounted onto these slots so I can adjust up and down, and we'll have a fixed pivot here so the whole thing can pivot back and forth. All right, so here's the concept, kind of mocked together here, a bit of a prototype. So the theory being there will be some braces across here, of course, to strengthen up the whole thing, but this lets me move the router back and forth in an arc. By sliding the router back and forth along this axis, I have the ability to do some beading. So I can go this way to provide some smoothing on the surface. I can flip on the outside of a surface. I can flip the router upside down and get underneath a piece to do an inside radius. Same mechanism, and now I can do the beading by sliding back and forth. There are slots down here and here that let me raise and lower the router to do anything. Right now I could probably get down to be about an 8-inch radius right up to about a 20-inch radius. So I have a lot of flexibility here. Now, a couple things to be done. One, just using the drill and I don't get the precision that I need, so I'm going to wind up 3D printing these 2 blocks here that allow the guide to move along the rails, and those 3D printed parts will incorporate these little linear bearings that are made to go on this 8mm shaft. I may also wind up 3D printing these bits on the end, just so that I get absolute precision in terms of lining up the rails. The 3D printer is really good for that. So that's the concept. I'm pleased with that. It's taken a little bit longer than I wanted to get to this point, but I think the concept is good. The next question, of course, is going to be how to mount the piece in here, but that's simply the construction of a table, and I'm okay with that. That can be temporary structures. This whole business here is firmly bolted down onto the table. I have a bolt here, I don't know if you can see it, but that goes into a nut that's anchored into my table. So I have a few of those around my work table just for this purpose. It gives me the ability to mount fixtures in a permanent, well, a semi-permanent way. So that's the concept. Hey, stay tuned. We'll keep building on this. Give me your ideas and tips in the comments. Appreciate it. Thanks very much for watching. See you on the next video.